All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. Hope everybody had a great Christmas. Before I get going on this video about David Lee Roth, here is Tony Spinner. His album is Love is the Answer, courtesy of Grooveyard Records. Tony spent some time in the band Toto. This does not sound like Toto. This is more of a Steve Miller, old school Steve Miller vibe, three-piece band. Really cool, really funky, really tight. I can just, kind of hear that 70s laid-back Steve Miller sound in this. And Tony is really good. And so good, David Paich was like, okay, we need a guitarist to back up Steve Lukather. I think this was like in the late 90s, in that time frame. And Tony was the man. Tony is a good player, so check it out again one more time. Sorry if you don't like me doing these. It's Love is the Answer. That's the name of the CD. Check it out, courtesy of Grooveyard Records. Now on to David Lee Roth. Roth has dropped another new version of a Van Halen classic, and this one might be the worst. Everybody wants some. Missing is that whole extended intro with the tribal beats and the Tarzan yelling and the build up, and it's not there. It goes right into the guitar hook, and it seems redundant and repetitive. Roth does some of his talking shtick towards the late part of the song, but at that point, I'm completely uninterested in the song. It's not the worst thing I've ever heard, but it is even further removed from the original, more so than those other songs that Roth has done so far, where I think he recorded a bunch of these back in May, maybe June of this year, as we're getting close to the end of the year. But okay, so the songs keep coming out. Everybody wants some. And one of the things that really irritates yours truly is this picture or this thumbnail on the song that says Roth lives. Okay, Roth lives. Why would he put that out after Eddie passed away? Why would he say Roth lives? Almost like the casual fan might have thought somehow that it was Dave who had passed away, but Dave is letting everybody know that Roth lives. Okay. And again, since the whole Eddie passing away thing, where you find out more and more, I guess, that people just didn't like Eddie Van Halen. A lot of people didn't like Eddie Van Halen, and a lot of people respected Eddie Van Halen as a guitarist. And again, whether you liked him or not, the fact that there hasn't been an Eddie Van Halen tribute, I think, speaks volumes to maybe the relationships that people had, including higher ups in the music industry, possibly. I don't know. But David Lee Roth here just contributes more to that idea with his own version of a Van Halen classic, which is desperately in need of some better guitar playing. All right. The intro proves it. I mean, when you've got Eddie doing his thing on the original and he's just all over the map, basically creating sounds as he goes, then you hear this sterilized version where we know that Dave can't sing the way he used to sing. So he just plays it safe, which is better than him attempting the Las Vegas routine where he tries to sing in the original key, which, as much as I give him credit for, if you can't do it, you shouldn't do it at all. You shouldn't auto-tune it. You shouldn't have any vocal tracks. But more and more musicians now are coming around to the idea of putting vocal tracks into their shows. And the reason is they want security. It's the same thing as auto-tune. They want to make sure that when they're singing, they're able to hit the note. And if they know they can't hit the note, then the vocal track is already there. They just have to mime their way through it. So that's where we're at with a lot of these older artists. And people wonder why I share new music. I mean, is it that people are only interested in old music? But think that if you go see David Lee Roth now, it's going to be like Van Halen in 1983. It's just weird. People have to kind of admit to themselves that, hey, this guy can't sing the way he used to sing. But here's another thought on why Roth is doing this. Why is David Lee Roth releasing all of these songs? Well, there are a couple of ideas I have here. One is that he kind of wants to say to everybody, I'm the guy. I'm the guy that wrote these songs. These are my songs, and I'm going to put my signature, my imprint on these songs as I put them out to you. And I'm going to prove to everybody I can kind of still sing in case I decide next year to come out of retirement, because Roth said this was only his first retirement. And there's a good chance he might go out there and do the Vegas routine or find maybe another band to open up for. That would be my guess. But the other reason is financial. If you go look up, say, the Little River Band and their song Reminiscing, go on Spotify, go on YouTube, you're going to find multiple versions of that song, because there's a US band, which has had the name and had everything for quite some time, and they've re-recorded that song multiple times, and they put it out there. And so when you go and look it up, you want to hear the original version. By the way, LRB just put out their masterpieces and remastered original best of collection, which you can find, again, on these streaming platforms. But the casual fan might have some difficulty finding those original remasters, which are pristine and almost perfect. Graham Goebel just did an amazing job putting these collections together and getting the audio to a point where it's just phenomenal. I mean, all the LRB material, like the Toto material, a lot of that stuff needed a good remastering, just because, digital is pretty much the only way people listen to things these days. Anyway, getting back to Roth. So Roth has this incentive to get his version of Everybody Wants Some out there next to the original. People will go look it up and they'll listen to it for 30 seconds, and maybe Dave will get a streaming credit. I don't know how that works. I know if, you watch a portion of a YouTube video, it's considered a view on that video. So this might be working in Dave's favor. He can put his version out there. People will do the search and they'll find it and they'll go, oh, wow, here's the song I've been looking for. So it competes with the full band version, which I believe will split the revenue. But now that Roth is doing his own solo version, I believe he would get more of that revenue, depending on what he did with his band as far as, profit sharing, which I don't know if that's going to be a thing with his own band, but it could be. It could be, hey, I played on the David Lee Roth new version of Everybody Wants Some, and Roth is like, yeah, you can put that on your resume, but you can't have any of the money. I don't know how that's all going to work, but it is a bit weird that after Eddie's passing, that all this stuff has been happening, and Roth doesn't seem to be too concerned about saying Roth lives. Like, that's not insensitive to the memory of Eddie Van Halen. Some people have picked up on it and said, that's kind of weird. We didn't think Dave was dead. I mean, it's kind of like the time where Brian Howe passed away and Paul Rogers put out a statement saying, don't worry, I'm fine. That guy was in bad company and you may be confused, right? We're not even going to mention his name. It's really tragic. I guess when people get older, it's more greed, more notoriety. Make sure my name gets out there so people know it's me and not, the Van Halen version, which featured way better musicians playing everything, in the original key and sounding phenomenal. And it's the version you grew up listening to driving down the road. I think it was even in the movie Better Off Dead. I remember seeing it. I'm sure it was in other things, but Better Off Dead, they had this claymation thing that happened. And I'll never forget the way they used Everybody Wants Some. And I could be wrong about that movie. It could be a different movie, but I think it is Better Off Dead. Anyway, I guess that was insensitive, right? Because I would rather have Eddie Van Halen still here, maybe pissing some people off, but playing his guitar the way only Eddie can play it. And that's a far better world as far as I'm concerned than pretending that Ed isn't here and that we're just going to ignore all the great things that he did, whether you liked him or not. All right. So that's the video. Before I go, one more little plug for Tony Spinner. Love is the answer. If you like great guitar work and just a humble spirit, this is a good album to listen to. It just kind of cooks right along. It's got some great musicians here, and it's rock and roll. And what could be better than that, right? All right. I'm done with this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We want to finish the year strong. Watch the videos. Patreon for $1 a month. A new year is coming. I want to thank everybody, as always, for sticking with me for all this time. But I could use a few more of you. So if you'd like to join, you can do it for $1 a month, $2 a month, whatever you can afford. All right. See you soon, everybody.